Hi everyone, thank you for being here. Today we were talking about 3 ways to accept that the past and the future are fluid. Everything that we do comes down to this story that we have about it. Whether it is a good story or not depends on the perspective that you're telling it from. When we hear the story of a victor and we hear about the triumph they had to go through in the trials, we could see it from a different perspective. We could see it, well, life was just so hard on them and they had to face all of these things and they really could have just sat down and not done anything, and that story would become a lot less inspirational. So the spin that we put on the story, the way we talk about it, the way we look at what happened affects how it did happen. Because when you are in a certain moods, when you're thinking from a certain perspective, you access memories from your past that are similar to that emotional range that you're in. If you're excited or you're grateful or you're feeling interested in what you're doing, you're more likely going to connect to parts of your past where you felt similar. If you're really excited about a trip, you might be thinking about other trips that you were excited about, the adrenaline of waiting at the airport to get on the plane, or the excitement of putting the outfit together the night before a school trip. You're more likely going to tap into those memories. So though our memories may or may not change in its entirety, the way we look at them will change based off of how we feel. And how we feel is our choice. How we access the past is how we are accessing the future. If we are excited about what's going on, we're going to be excited about our future. If we're excited about this trip, we might think about other trips we're going on, or things that we'll do on this trip, events that you're going to go to, that concert that you're excited for, or you might be thinking about all the food that you're going to try and the ice cream, and seeing these amazing paintings at the museum or walking these beautiful gardens. You might be thinking about all of these things, and your future seems so much more exciting. And then you look at your past and then you remember all the other times you've gone and had the best ice cream sundae or the best pizza in these other places. So you are accessing different aspects of your life based off of how you feel right now, and you're projecting that onto the future and onto the past. So if you are living in a place where you are upset about things, if you're tired of people, if you're annoyed by people, you're a lot more likely going to grab onto the past in the same way. If you're dealing with an annoying coworker or somebody that cut you off in traffic, you're probably going to think of every other time you've been annoyed on your way to work because somebody cut you off or was speeding or was going too slow. And every time you deal with an annoying coworker, you're gonna connect it to that other annoying coworker who asked you a similar question or a dumb question, and you're gonna get wrapped up into it. And it's a lot easier to spiral in that direction than the fun one, but is it really? When you're excited, it's a lot easier to tap into those emotions, especially if you're practicing it. If you are practicing being excited or having joy, it may sound weird, but isn't that what we're doing all day anyway? Aren't we practicing these emotions when we're playing them out or being annoyed by things? When we feel this sense of accomplishment, we feel a lot better. So how can we start to import actions to reflect these a lot better, or to have them in our life more often? How can you be more excited about life? How can you plan more trips or find things that you're excited about? You don't have to get on a plane every weekend, but can you go and try out a new ice cream place in your own town or 2 towns over? I'm sure you haven't tried every single ice cream place in the 30-mile area around you. Can you go to a museum you've never gone to? Can you go to a restaurant or try something new and keep this excitement about life going? You don't have to get on a plane and go 8 hours to Europe to experience something different or new or fun. And when you think about it, whether you are getting on a plane or you're getting on a train or you're walking down the street to this new restaurant that just opened up, that excitement exists and you can start to tap into it even more because you're used to this feeling. If you're always annoyed, if you're always running late, if you're constantly doing the same thing over and over again, it's a lot easier to tap into those emotions. And this is what we've talked about. before with the way that Joe Dispenza talks about life. And I will link the current book that I'm reading down below as well, just as a reference, but it's the same story over and over again, right? The story that we tell of ourselves to the world and we tell the world about us is the one that we're going to keep repeating. And the more we get stuck in the day-to-day, if we are projecting an emotion and then following through with that action, the more the story is going to solidify. And you won't need to fill in these gaps because they've already been filled in. There's no unknowns, there's no potential chances of meeting somebody really cool. It's already in the same exact order that it's always been. You know you're gonna get up and go to the same coffee shop and order the same thing, and you're gonna be annoyed by that coworker within the first hour of being at work, and then you're gonna eat something at lunch that you don't like because that's what you've always done, and then you're gonna be annoyed on the way home, and then when you get home you're gonna be so tired, so you're just gonna watch TV, and then you're gonna feel bad because you didn't work out, and this spiral continues. So we live the same life over and over and over again. So what is this story that we're telling ourselves? How can it change? And how can we start to import things that are different, that we don't know what the outcome is gonna be, but we know that it could be good, it might be bad, but it could also be good. But what you do know is the outcome of the thoughts and the emotions and the feelings that you've had so far. If you're always annoyed at the same person when they talk to you, you're gonna continue to feel that way. But if you start to think different ways or feel different ways throughout the day in other regards, maybe you will show up differently with this person who usually annoyed you because you spent so much time thinking about them, but now you have this brand new restaurant that you're going to after work. How can you import this excitement so that you can create these feelings of newness in your life? Can you go to the same coffee shop you've always gone and buy something that you've never bought? Try a different flavor donut, try a different flavor coffee, try something new to get this excitement going. You don't have to get in a car, you don't have to get on a plane. You can even do this in your own house. Can you sit on a different part of the couch than you usually do? Can you read a book in a different location? Can you wash your dishes in a different order than you normally do? Can you do it at a different time during the day? How can you just shake up the thing that you've done every single day, all the time? And as you do this, the story around the intensity and the gravity of these situations will start to change, because you'll realize, well, doing the dishes at night or in the morning doesn't actually matter because they get done. And the importance of it getting done in a specific way will start to lessen. And then you can focus your time and your attention on the things that do matter and the things that you want to change. Maybe it doesn't matter when you do the dishes, but it does matter when you're going to sit down and write in your journal, because you feel differently at different times of the day. But maybe you switch that up too. Start to learn about yourself. How do you know that you don't like Indian food or different types of foods if you never try it, if you never explore, if you don't go to different places? Not every burger you've had has been the best one. You've tried different ones and you learned. You learned what you like, what you don't like. So keep learning. How can you import learning and the unknown in a way that isn't going to be completely scary all the time? Trying a different coffee isn't going to be life or death. If you don't like it, it's okay. You don't have to get that one again. But now you know. And the more times you are learning, the more you are creating these new neural pathways where you're able to connect with the world differently and look at it from a different perspective. And maybe the next time you go to order a coffee, you'll be able to approach the menu with a little more understanding of what you might get on the other side. You're just trying to learn about the world you're living in, because that's the world we're trying to become different within. If we want to be a better person, if we want to be more excited, if we want to be healthier, take the steps to do it. And you can start small. You can start with getting a different type of coffee. You can get a different sandwich at lunch. Just try something new. Try something new today. It can be small, and then gradually it will be easier to do. And you'll realize that the world doesn't end if you get a coffee that you don't like, or if you get a sandwich that has a weird sauce on it. But you did like everything else except for the sauce. So now next time you know, hey, there's more stuff that I like here. I can try something else. You'll flex this muscle of being aware of the world you live in and aware of yourself. Because that's really what we're trying to do with this entire journey, is become more aware of who we are to ourselves and to the world around us. How are you going to figure that out if you don't explore the ranges and the depths of what it is that you do and don't like? And how do you know you don't like something if you don't try it? Don't have to go and sign up for every sport to ever exist now, but try something out. Can you sign up for a class? Can you go into a bookstore and get a book on something you've never read before? And you don't even have to buy the book, just skim through it. See if you can learn a new fact. How can you import newness into your life in a variety of ways? Now, the other thing that really is something we can focus on is our thoughts. We think so many thoughts every single day. 70,000 the last time I heard. And at the end of the day, all of those thoughts are more or less probably going to be the same ones as yesterday, if nothing changes. But there's probably a big difference of who you are or how you show up to others when you go on vacation versus your day-to-day at work. When you're on vacation, you're excited about life. You're asking questions, you're interested, you're more present. And that's what they call the vacation you. And how can you bring that you into your everyday you? Can you be more excited when people talk to you? Can you show up more interested in a variety of things, or even pretend? And the more you pretend, the more you'll pretend, your pretendness will turn into reality. You don't have to be super interested in the thing this person did over the weekend, but if you can feign excitement, they'll be more pleasant to talk to, and honestly, that's a win-win for everyone. So what thoughts do come up into your mind, and how are you mitigating them as they're appearing? Because there's plenty of thoughts that come into my mind that aren't great, and even I struggle all the time with trying to stop them where they are, stop them in their tracks. And it gets a lot easier to do that if I'm doing the things that make me feel better overall. If I'm not overextending myself at work, if I'm not constantly thinking about it, if I am working out, if I am going on walks, if I'm eating more fruit and drinking more water, I can show up with my thoughts and be able to pick them a lot better and be able to express the ones that actually matter. We can be scared all the time, or we can have different thoughts or feelings. It doesn't mean that they're true. If you're scared to go out on a walk, or if you're scared to go and talk to someone, the fear there is a lot deeper than the surface level. That person is probably not going to bite you or hurt you if you go up to them and say, "Hey, I like your outfit." Or if you go out on a walk and you have to cross the street, but you look both ways and make sure there's no cars. Being inherently afraid or scared of any of these things, there's a deeper underlying issue there. And we have to explore those thoughts and sit with them and try to understand where they're coming from and why. Because our thoughts can run wild and they can do a great deal of things to keep us stuck where we are. Our thoughts are trying their best to protect us. Everything in your mind is doing its own way of trying to help you preserve who you are. But sometimes that preservation isn't actually helping us, it's holding us back. But we have to be the ones to dismantle it and to decide which thoughts are real and which ones aren't. Are we imagining that our partner is upset with us because they look concerned or they seem moody or something is going on, but they won't tell you? Maybe they're just having a rough day at work and they're thinking about something that they have to do. It might have nothing to do with you, but we often will internalize that. And if we do ask and they say nothing and you think there is, we have to at some point believe what other people are telling us. And if they want to share in that moment or they're going to share later, you have to be okay with not knowing and not being responsible. You are responsible for your thoughts and how you show up in the world. And the more you can control your thoughts, or at least understand what they mean when they come up, it'll be easier for you to show up for other people and to say, you know what, I don't know why that happened or what it exactly means, but I'm gonna work on it and I'm going to figure it out because they're my thoughts. They're no one else's responsibility, but they can affect my relationship with other people, and I need to keep them in check if I'm going to be liked by the people that I care about, or respected or reciprocated in sharing emotions. If I want them to tell me what's wrong, I have to be willing to share with them. So what are your thoughts telling you? What do they mean? And why are they taking up so much of your time in a negative way or in a positive way? Maybe you are constantly defaulting to the positive and you're excited about things and you are brushing off when people are rude to you and you're just moving on because you are thinking about so many more important things. That's the place we want to get to, where we're brushing off people's comments and emotions, and we can only get there if we are putting in the effort to control our own thoughts and to realize that, hey, not everything I think deserves the time and space to be presented to others or even to the rest of me. So how are you working on that? And how can you establish these habits to review your thoughts? What do they mean? Why are you freaking out about this thing? How is it triggering things from your past? How is it projecting onto your future? How is this playing with one another? It's all working in tandem, so the more we can get into this unknown and be excited and focus our attention on that. It's like, I don't know why this person at work is always rude to me, but I am gonna go try this new ice cream place and hopefully it tastes really good, and if not, I'll try a different one out. You might think, how could I possibly switch to that? How is that gonna help me? And if you give yourself just 5 seconds, a few seconds, just enough time to switch to thinking about something else, you'll move on from that thought. What was the last crazy thought that encompassed your entire day that ended up coming true? And if it did come true, how possible is it that because you thought of it so much, your behaviors and your actions reflected that outcome happening way more than it would have had you just let it go? Now, I mean this in the sense of, if you think your partner is doing something sketchy or shady, or you're projecting that onto their behaviors instead of talking to them about it, and you're moody and you're passive aggressive and you're annoyed all the time and you're not having fun with them anymore, is that behavior pushing them into this direction of not feeling as connected to you? And now their behavior is actually reflecting that. The way we see the world and what we're projecting onto it is what we will reflect to us, because we're going to look for evidence of whatever it is that we're thinking. So if we think happy thoughts, if we're excited about life, we're gonna try to find more excitement. But if we are constantly looking for the negative and that side totally meant something about me and they're not interested in me anymore, and you go into this spiral, your behavior is going to reflect that to them, and then their behavior is just going to even more double down on what you were thinking. So can you show up being more excited about things? Now, the third thing is the reality that we live in. Reality exists very often in a way that isn't hurting us. Whether we are aware of it or not, most of the time it is our projection of the future or our dive into the past that is hurting us, and not something actually happening in the present moment. Very few times are we crying about something that is potentially happening in the moment. Maybe you hurt your foot and you cried because it hurt, but how many times were you thinking about the past and crying because of that, or projecting into the future that something bad's gonna happen and crying because of that, or being really upset about it because of that? If we can stay present as much as possible, we will push off all of this unnecessary energy that is being tapped into our day-to-day through this creation of reality. We're crying or we're upset about something that has happened or hasn't happened, and either way, it's not happening right now. If the thing that you're upset about isn't happening to you in this moment, see how much space you can put between you and that thing that you're upset about. If you're upset about going on this very long work trip and you're going to miss your partner, how can you distance yourself from what's going to happen in the future and what's happening right now? If you're hanging out with your partner, can you connect with them more? Can you be more excited about the thing that you're doing with them so that when you do miss them in the future, you'll be like, you know what, but I was present every single moment that we had before I left on this trip. And that is what you can look back on and be like, you know what, I did what I could. And that's all that you can do. So can you distance yourself from what could happen or what has happened and step into the present moment? If you're really worried about a presentation where you think you're gonna mess up or you're gonna stumble on your words, how can you step back into the present moment? Are you going on a walk? Are you hanging out with your friends? Are you drinking a cold lemonade? How is this feeling affecting you right now? And is it something that you're feeling right now? And if in this moment, yes, somebody is yelling at you or something has happened and you're upset, then by all means, you are supposed to feel these feelings. But if we're constantly projecting from the past or the future into the present moment, we're going to be experiencing things multiple times over that we don't have to. If you worry, you're suffering multiple times. You're suffering in this moment and in the moment that that suffering might happen, or that whatever that worry that could come to fruition happens. You're going to be worrying about the same thing or be upset about the same thing multiple times when you could just be upset about it once. If that person is being unfaithful or somebody is being rude, you don't have to live through that pain multiple times before it even happens, or continue to relive it if it has happened. And it may be easier said than done, but the more distance we can put between what has happened and where we are right now, the more we can step into the present moment, and that thing will exist, but not in as heavy of a coating in our life, because we've distanced ourselves. We've said it happened in my past and it was upset and I am going to be upset about it, but the depth that it has to affect me doesn't have to be as much because it isn't happening right now. If you broke up with someone in that moment, it was really hard, and then later on you're going to think about all the memories and all the things you used to do and the routines and all that. But if you can distance yourself as much as possible and realize that in this moment, I am not in pain, I am not being hurt, if you can come back to that present moment. And the best way to do that is to focus on your breathing. Can you focus on your breathing? Can you focus on your walking? Can you drink some water and be present with it? How can you shift into this moment? And just like we said, it only takes a few seconds to shift your thoughts. So can you shift your thoughts through these very real physical things that you can do? Our entire life is about a story that we're projecting. It is about a story that we are living. So instead of constantly imagining these stories, it's time to live them. It's time to silence our thoughts and to step into the present moment. Both the past and the future don't really exist in any capacity outside of the one that you allow it to. So if you're gonna think about your past and your future, let it be through these higher levels of energy where you're excited or interested or curious. But try to limit how dark of emotions you're falling into and projecting onto the past or the future. They're both fluid. They might as well be working for you in a better way. Hope you got something out of today's video. We will be back as we are wrapping up this series. I hope you have an amazing week.